Today's program will be showcasing examples of what happens to men when they experience domestic violence. Now, Kayode, I'm going to go to you first. Can you tell us what you understand by domestic violence and how it impacts on men?
Yeah, domestic violence is any incident of threatening behavior and violence, which includes an abuse, physical, psychological, emotional, between two adults who have lived together or are still living together, or within families, which involves adults, and generally is something that partakes to controlling behavior and having power over the victim. Men is now that we are now getting to the reality that men too suffer domestic violence. It used to be the stereotype that it's only women that are victims of domestic violence. But recent developments and the research findings have shown that men do too suffer, although not in equal proportions as women do, in terms of the harm and the impact of this in terms of how it affects their children, emotional well-being, and the long-term damage that this abuse really impact on the children's life and welfare.
Mm. And can you tell us what kind of domestic violence you think men suffer?
Yeah, men do suffer domestic violence in different ways because nagging is a domestic violence as far because it's threatening. When your partner or your wife or an ex-partner decides that maybe there are some unmet needs which needs to be taken in not in a very negotiated way, but making an unusual demand which put a pressure on a man. And of course, that is a controlling behavior. Also, men suffer domestic violence when in a post-separation incident where men are not allowed to have contact with the children. And
when women try to deny them opportunity
to have contact with the children, that is also considered to be violence. It also relates to physical abuse, which are very unreported because most men will not, because of the cultural perspective. They always believe that if I do go to the police station, they will not believe me. And of course, it's also due to the masculinity, because men do see themselves from the cultural perspective to say, how can I go to the police to report that my wife has beaten me up? So a lot of hidden things, a lot of things that happen behind the scene that are unreported.
Okay, right. Also, there are issues that, from cultural perspective, that in our culture, we don't expect that the man becomes the victim of domestic violence. It's something that is frowned upon. How can a man really tell his fellow men or his relatives that he's been oppressed by his wife?
Can you comment on that?
Yeah. You see, this is a very interesting point, and it has to do with also the society, the way the society expectation, the way they've made the domestic violence to look like that it only happens between a man who is considered to be stronger and the woman, whereas recent developments have shown that men suffer in equal proportion. So it's a kind of like it's seen, as I've said, sometimes men see it like a matter of shame to go and report to family, and they say, oh, my wife has just done this to me, has not done that to me. So it's been seen that we need to cope with it, and maybe with time, will let me tolerate the abuse. And so that's why it goes on. And of course, the secret behind is that children are made to believe that you do not report. And so they go on, and that's one of the aspects that actually impacts on the children, because now you not teach the children.
I will come to that aspect on the children. So where, yeah.
So, okay, so the fact that they don't want to report it, and the fact that they feel unable to do that, and it affects, how do you think that it affects them in society in general then?
The men, of course, it affects the society, because you go on there with this, with the harm of this violence, and which you will not be able to get any help, and because you believe that I will not be believed anyway if I do go. So in a way, it affects men because it affects your parenting, it affects the relationship, it affects your response to the ability to care for the children.
So are you saying now that it affects men more than women because of the expectation that a man is the head of the family, especially in the African context? A man should be responsible for ensuring that his family is run in order perfectly, and that he should ensure that his wife is kind of subservient to him, rather than the wife being the one that wears the socks in the house.
Yes, you see, as I've said, we need to have the kind of a new thinking and more education, so that we move away from our old kind of a picture of seeing a wife as a weaker sex and seeing a man as the benefactor in the home who provides for the home. Yeah, things have changed. There is empowerment for women, and there are many homes where women are actually, they have more financial muscle than men. But it has to do with to have a shared understanding and a kind of a new awareness to know that, look, we are working together, a man and a woman. The ultimate goal is that you should live happily, you should have a safe, warm, and a secure environment where these children can be brought in, they will feel love and feel warm, and they will not feel the threat, which will impact on their mental health in the future.
Okay. You talked about the fact that women feel empowered, and so therefore that can cause a domestic violence. So are you then saying that domestic violence towards men would have increased over the years due to that empowerment?
Well, it's as I've said, this has to do with when a man is not a breadwinner, the man then becomes having a kind of lower self-esteem and confidence, seeing the woman as being richer in the context than himself, and seeing the woman as saying the woman will not be able to follow in the traditional perspective instruction of the husband. So it has to do with changing the perspective in which we see the role of woman in the house and the role of the husband. And it's not helped by the fact that we have a generation now of men who still hold on to those old views that I should be in control of whatever happens in the home, which we need to move away from, at least in a gradual way, in order to ensure that we recognize the contribution of women in the home, we recognize the contribution of the man in the house, the man still from the, I call it cultural perspective because of the religious perspective, that the man is the head of the home. Yes, you can still be the head of the home, at the same time, show maximum respect to your wife and respect for the children, so that the home could be built on love and these children will thrive in the home.
So you are actually talking about, my colleague just said something about, do you think there is an increase? In a way, it looks like because the role of women in our community and in our society has changed a little bit, women are doing more of what men used to do, and men are not able to gain employment in as they used to previously, because obviously there is a competition between men and women in terms of employment opportunities. And therefore, in some homes now, instead of the women, the men having the benefit of good jobs, their wives are actually the main breadwinners. And as a result, some men who do not have strong resiliency are beginning to feel that that their wife is, a better opportunity than they are. And as a result, that brings resentment, it brings conflict, it brings restraint in the relationship. Yeah, and the children within this home can also see what's going on, where their father is not able to have the power that comes with financial power, power to make decisions within the home, because you are waiting on your wife to maybe bring the money. I think we are having some callers here. Callers, you can join us in this debate. A very interesting debate. We are looking at how parents, domestic violence within the home affects the man, and also how children are impacted when their father, who is supposed to be the head of the family in African context, is not able to exercise that authority which comes with that position. Yeah. So
in that sense then, but do you still feel that it has increased if the woman has taken up that role?
Yes.
Or she's taken up all the roles?
Yes, I agree, because it has increased because of the current situation where the more women are now more empowered than men. Yeah. And definitely, if you came from a background where you have this strict way, cultural pattern, you are the man.
Okay. It looks like we're having callers here. Yes, callers.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
What would you like to say?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, we're listening.
Yeah. Good job, Sammy. What I want to say is, regardless of whoever is the breadwinner in the house,
yeah,
I think the both parents should participate in the children's life.
Yes.
Because if the man says, like, there's so many cases happening in Nigeria today, to the extent that there's a case going on that the husband stabbed the wife, thinking because he's richer or she's working, she's a banker, the lady, and she obviously killed the wife. And what's the motive? Because the wife is in employment, the man is unemployed, which it shouldn't be looked at that way. She could be the breadwinner today, it's vice versa. But when it comes to the children, men, particularly Nigerian men, think, oh, because I've been to work, from work, I'm going to my beer parlor to enjoy myself. They've forgotten that they have much impact as well to play on the role of those children.
Yeah.
Because mothers are working hard for the well-being of the children, i.e. to go to school, to dress well, to cook in the house, as well as working. So it's a lot of job to do, combined with work. And men think, once I've got to work and earn salary to help them, that's the end of it. I think it's about time for our Nigerian men to realize their impact on their children.
So what you are saying in a nutshell is that parenting should not be left for women alone. That men should see it as positive when their wives have gone to work, to bring in money. Instead of being jealous and sulking, they should see it as beneficial for their children and for themselves.
It should be both ways, not only for the women, because at the end of the day, when that child grows up and becoming somebody good, the man will sit on the couch, oh yeah, that's my children, that's my
Interesting. Thank you very much. We've got another caller on the line. Thank you very much. Stay tuned while we discuss with the next caller. Thank you. Yeah, we can see what...
It's actually a good point. Once I've said, it comes back to a kind of negotiation, respect. Notwithstanding the fact that the wife has more money or is richer than the husband, that should not remove the respect, because every human being...
Yes, next please. Thank you. Sorry. Caller, yes, can we help you? Come on then.
Hi, is this me?
Can you speak up there? Thank you.
Yeah, hello, is this me?
We can hear you. Can you speak up? Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Tokumbo.
Oh, we can hear you.
Hi, Tokumbo.
Yeah, hi. I'm calling in regarding the last caller.
Okay.
He made a general statement which I think is unfair, and you guys should have challenged it, when she mentioned the fact that Nigerian men just go to the beer parlor. That's very generalization. There's a lot of Nigerian men who are actually contributing, you know, very much into developing and helping the child to grow in a home. And I also want to just, I guess, highlight the fact that domestic violence not necessarily also involves those who are not working, but also maybe because of the structure of the home in terms of religion. You know, a lot of women tend to use, some women tend to use religion as a tool in the home to actually intimidate and maybe actually also cause domestic violence. Because the man doesn't want to leave the home, because he knows if he leaves the home, he may lose access to his child. So the man stays in the home so that he can have access to his child, but at the same time, maybe stop doing domestic as well as violence, not violence, abuse.
Okay, thank you.
Am I making sense?
You can respond.
You know, men suffer abuse in the home.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I understand what you're saying about the last caller, but that was her opinion and clearly her experience. And possibly generalization, but that's from her experience. And I do accept that men who experience domestic violence stay in the home in order to keep contact with their children. Therefore, the cycle of abuse continues. Thank you very much for that opinion.
Okay, next caller, thank you. Yes, caller, can you speak up, please? Thank you.
Would that be me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would that be me?
Yes.
I'm just calling really quickly to say two things. Firstly, I think in response to what the gentleman said about domestic violence being on the increase, I don't necessarily think it is on the increase. I think there's more of an awareness nowadays.
Could you speak up a little bit, please? Sorry.
And people talk about it a lot more than they would have, say, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. People are talking about it more. And I think that's why we hear about it. I don't necessarily think it's on an increase. Okay. And secondly, if women who are abusive, period. They're not abusive because they earn more than their husbands, or they're not abusive because they have more financial sway than their husbands. If they're abusive women, that's who they are. It has nothing to do with how much money they earn or what they bring to the table. That's just who they are.
Okay, thank you very much. I agreed that if a woman is abusive, she's abusive. That's the end of that. That is the bottom line. That is the area that you do need to tackle. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. We are coming to the end of this show soon. I would like to thank everybody that's contributed to this show today. Please remember, Child and Society is a show for you, and it comes on every Saturday from 11:30 to 12 o'clock. We are discussing about men who experience domestic violence within the home, and we have heard today what people have to say about this. It's not in an increase, but more and more women and men are beginning to talk about it because research is already taking place to gather information about these things. One more call, please, and we'll be... Now, we are being told that we have to come to the end of this show right now, but we'd like to thank you, my co-pilot,
Ms. Oladabiri.
Kayode Olatunji.
Thank you. We love you all and want you to stay tuned next week. We'll be showing again, we'll be talking about this very domestic violence more next week. Thank you very much. We love you. Stay blessed.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.